Peace. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you back. I am your host. I don't want to go by my old channel's name, but I'm just your host. I'm your brother in arms and in spirit. But wanted to come through this weekend, have a little bit of content in the air, and address some of the corniness that I've been seeing online regarding this new found beef that we're all enthralled in. So-called FBAs versus Puerto Ricans, uh, so-called FBAs versus Jamaicans. Jamaicans, so-called FBAs versus uh, all Caribbeans, so-called FBAs versus you name it. Now the FBAs, which is a new term. I'm not calling black dudes FBA ever in my life. Same thing as I did with ADOS. That was the move that they were pumping during COVID. Not they, because at times I don't even think that some black conglomerate or some conglomerate of so-called black brothers have these big powwows and decide, oh well, we're gonna call ourselves FBA. Like after, no, I think it's just some internet shit that is popping off. Like, and then similar to ADOS. If you guys don't know, ADOS is African descendants of slaves, and that was a term that they were pumping off in around the time of COVID. I don't study up on this shit. I'm just, like because somebody will come right behind me. Oh well, no, it was during 2019, right before COVID. One person mentioned it, because everybody in the internet is an expert, and everybody in the internet behaves as if whoever they're talking to at that point in time is wrong, almost as a way to get a one up on somebody. But I ain't trying to get a one up on nobody. I'm trying to prove what it is. I mean, like with in the terms of this debate, whether that be who started hip hop, who created hip hop, I ain't contending a damn thing. With the exception of the birthplace of hip hop is 1970, early 1970s Bronx. The date I've always heard is 1972. But like with all history, people are trying to change the dates so they could obfuscate things for their own devices or their own purposes. But I've heard 1972 being the date. If you want to push it back 1 year, we'll go with 1971. Whatever. I can't get caught up on this fake history that people are trying to pump. However, one thing I will say is that hip hop started in the Bronx in the 1971, and if it started in that area, then in the Bronx, 1971, that there was a ton of Puerto Ricans in the Bronx in 1971. Every project you could think of. I don't care if there was a couple. There were Puerto Ricans in the 70s all over the Bronx. They were all over Brooklyn. They were doing the same shit that our so-called black brothers do, who I'll refer to as Moors, their proper title. But Puerto Ricans have done the same things that Moors have done in the streets of New York City since at least the 1950s. If it and hip hop, especially at its infancy, is a party culture. What party would have in the Bronx Puerto Rican women swing through, and people say, "Nah, them bitches can't come because they're Puerto Rican"? Or name me parts of the Bronx in which black dudes were just straight up not riding with Puerto Ricans in perpetuity, especially in hip hop, um, and that they were on that type of time. Like, because that's not the case. There were a ton of black people in every project, in every hood, who grew up with Puerto Rican dudes even before the 70s, who, like myself, consider these other groups or their friends from these other groups as their brothers. Like, nah, you can't like not include my brother. That's my man's. Like, you ain't gonna like play my man's for my building. If he ain't coming, I ain't coming. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's always played out. But with these new internet mystics and like remixes of history, like this herb ass dude, Mighty Hebrew, from a channel that I've been watching, Scoreboard Keepers. You're gonna have emotional dudes, and they try to remix history, like this dude Mighty Hebrew, who's a lame, for silencing me when I was on that channel's panel by being emotional. But you got dudes like that who at their current time, like they're just trying to run with some and it's not even building up so-called black brothers, which I'll never refer to as FBA. FBA is a 2014 term. I mean, like, if you guys want to use internet terms on your own behalf, go ahead. If you guys want to say Riz or fucking Skibbity or these other terms that youngsters want to use, listen, feel free. I'm not doing it. 1 second. Making sure my sound is on. Uh, but that's on them. But a lot of these dudes, they want to play as if they're the authority, just on the basis that their parents are um, of Moorish descendancy, because FBA doesn't exist. Um, when that's not the case, there's a lot of so-called black brothers, and I use I'm interposing words, but you guys get what I'm saying. But and I'll rephrase what I just said, so we could all understand. There's a lot of so-called black cats that feel that they could speak on things and then silence other people from speaking on things by throwing emotion in the mix, by saying, "Oh, well, like by you don't know how, like we like," but I don't know. You see it all the time, like basically like dudes trying to out emotion you and like silencing you, like or like hitting you with a question within a question, and making you submit to like what they want you to submit to in a conversation, and that's not the case. In fact, in most cases, in face-to-face interactions, I mean, like especially in the streets, which hip hop is a street culture, that stuff doesn't fly regularly. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a conversation and things go civilly. People ain't jumping out of pocket like they're doing here on the internet. And when they're jumping out of the pocket here on the internet right now, what I see, I mean, is a lot of dudes shitting on all these groups. But I'm only speaking on my nationality, and they're not like coming here to flag wave. But these new age 2024, post 2024, like cats that I see pumping FBA stuff are totally cool with bigotry against Jamaicans, bigotry against Puerto Ricans. Which, who cares, bro? Like, I mean, like, if that's the time you on, like, then that's the time you on. But I mean, like, do I see these dudes doing anything constructive of building, or will they build with this momentum? I predict no. I hope they do. I mean, my existence, I always want my Moorish brothers to do well. I always or can I conclude, or I predict that if Moorish brothers reach the top once again, that the world would be a much better place for everybody, including whites. I mean, but that's another subject altogether. But these dudes who are pumping this, they're not doing it, and they're gonna go build shit in the future, like, or they're not gonna have a set standard besides the standard of trying to take shots at like other nationalities and races, but to big themselves up. But the thing is, you got to understand, like, hip hop culture, another thing too. I mean, like, it's basically the makeup of who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be a dude that's so called black, that's a straight up herb, that don't get no love like in the streets, or wouldn't get no love in hip hop, besides being a customer, besides just listening to hip hop. Yes, some of these dudes who never met a Puerto Rican in their life, who never met a Jamaican in actual, or never operated with a Jamaican in real life, or who don't even like at times associate with other so-called black people besides online, they're like now pumping like with as if they're also like these revolutionary types, when in fact, like, it's easy to sound like a revolutionary in the midst of like emotion when you're just being a hater. And a lot of these dudes, they be hating. Like I like on this channel that I was speaking on, and I only mention it because this channel, Scoreboard Keepers, who has this lame ass dude named Mighty Hebrew, who's ultra emotional, who's scared too, scary. You have this dude doing live streams. Yesterday, it seemed like they did a live stream for 24 hours, almost nonstop, regarding this very topic. And I mean, this topic is hot. Everybody's jumping on it, myself included. But all he's doing in relation to that topic is reinforcing the notion that he's coming from, which is basically not building up black people or so-called black people. Nah, he's basically trying to tear down everybody else, and he's not even from New York. This dude is from Philadelphia. In addition to the fact that a lot of these people who started hip hop are in their 60s, damn near 70s now. This dude said that he's a couple years older than me. I'm in my 40s. But somehow he considers himself the authority more so, and other people who are Puerto Rican are almost disqualified from speaking in this conversation unless they reaffirm his corny ass notions, unless they submit to his facts. But at the end of the, I mean, in hip hop, it ain't cool to submit. It ain't cool to be a submissive cat in hip hop, especially on some bullshit. I mean, like if I have to cave down to the truth, so be it. But if it's some corny, I mean, or if it's some some shaded facts to reinforce some shit that you trying to come up with in 2024, basically, and what you hear is a lot of it. It's basically trying to take hip hop away from the Bronx, its birthplace. Now, again, I'm a New Yorker through and through. I'm not from the Bronx. In fact, a lot of times when I talk about the Bronx, I always talk about it in a negative connotation because the Bronx is a hood ass place. I mean, like, and I'm not from like the Bronx dudes flow differently. I got a lot of friends in the Bronx, but they flow way differently than Brooklyn dudes, and that's okay. I'm not shitting on them. It's just not my style, you know. Um, However, to say that hip hop didn't start in the Bronx is foolish. But they're trying to add like different sub facts into what the start of hip hop is. Like, fucking Hambone Turner from fucking God knows where in the South said a couple of skeet bop bebops like fucking in the 1950s, and that's the first rap. You know what I'm saying? Or like fucking JJ fucking Fatty Boy from fucking Mississippi once got down and started dancing on the floor, and that's the first b-boy, and that dude's a brother. Like, nah, bro, like, fuck out of here, bro. Like, yo, that dude is a lame. And I went onto this channel, and I'm speaking about like, because this channel that I'm speaking about has a couple of 100 subs, which is a shame. I mean, if you guys are listening to that channel and don't sub, you're being a bird. Because, like, I mean, like, regardless of whether I disagree with this sensitive ass dude, Hebrew National, whatever his name, Mighty Hebrew, Unmighty Hebrew, if that, like, and in spite of the fact that I was censored while on the panel of that channel, Scoreboard Keepers, because of that dude, Mighty Hebrew, being an emotional dude and acting like a lady, if you listen to those brothers, subscribe, bro. Like, what are you like? Come on, like, there's 100 something people listening at all times, and this dude has just above 300 subscribers. Like, and the dude literally did a damn near 24-hour live stream, and that's like some crabby shit. And how many FBAs have rolled through that channel, like, in the spirit of this debate, and don't fucking hit the like button, don't subscribe? And I'm not saying that so you can subscribe or like my shit. To hell with it. But that's just the tenor of how a lot of so-called minorities behave. We self-hating at the end of the day. I mean, like, we may find the outside enemy, in this case Puerto Ricans, momentarily, but my experience with brothers, I mean, if I'm lying, like, I'm dying, or tell me I'm wrong. Brothers stay hating on each other and not supporting each other. So in spite of the fact that I don't fuck with that dude Mighty Hebrew because he's a bird, and censored me by being emotional, and in spite of the fact that I was again censored while on the panel of that channel, Scoreboard Keepers, who's making a lot of traction based off this FBA debate, don't be a bird and listen to these dudes and not subscribe Like that's corny, bro. Like, like, and you get a lot of that shit. Um, and that's how minorities get down. I mean, like, if like, and I say that as a fellow minority, and I say that knowing that Puerto Ricans behave just like black people. Puerto Ricans stay beefing with other Puerto Ricans more than they do anybody else. That's a fact. I mean, like, and that's my existence. My existence, I've beefed with Puerto Ricans 95% of the beef that I had in my whole life. I just got off the horn like earlier today with my man L1, and I'm gonna have him on some of these chop sessions too. I mean, he's a Nation representative, um, verified. Like, I mean, like, a lot of people may know who he is, um, but he and I were speaking regarding past street life. In our experience, I mean, like, the only dudes we beefed with were, I mean, like, Puerto Ricans by and large. You know what I'm saying? Like, and our brothers, like the dudes we came up with, the dudes like in the streets that we love. I mean, for the most part, a lot of, like, most of them are black. I mean, are so-called black brothers. Most of them are Moors. You know what I'm saying? Like, but leave it to some of these internet dudes, and they make it seem as if fucking every Puerto Rican dude is playing maracas or some shit and dancing salsa, and that whenever they see a so-called black brother in the streets of New York, that there's like some fucking attraction that breaks out. Hells no, bro. Like, from my experience, so-called black brothers hate on so-called black brothers more than they hate on anybody else, and that's not just in New York. So stop fronting. From my experience in New York City, I mean, the Latin dudes beef with other Latin dudes. Dominicans beef with Dominicans more than they beef with anybody on the streets. In jail's different. Like, so, but the thing is that everybody acts brand new, especially New York, so-called New Yorkers. New Yorkers like that come onto these panels and try to flip subjects based on like some racism that they experienced along the way. Listen, so-called FBA dudes could be racist as well. Like, I'll this is a shocking statement to make, believe me. But have I had so-called black dudes say racial shit to me? I mean, like, come on, it's reality. Did that mean that all black dudes are like don't like Puerto Ricans? That's silly. I've I've been in conversations over race stuff wielded against myself, and that's for people that don't really know me like that, where shit just pops off, where I don't look like I belong, and people want to see what time it is, and what am I supposed to do? Like, fucking like, make it as if the whole fucking FBA nation, like, you want to go with that one, it are like this? No, absolutely not, bro. Like, that's not what the case is. There are anomalies in every scenario. I mean, like, if these dudes want to pump it as if Puerto Ricans and blacks didn't get along at all, like in the Bronx, which is bullshit. I mean, you look at the movie Rumble Kings, or you look at movies like 40 Blocks from Tiffany's, like, what any gang you could think of, Black Spades, fucking the Ultraton Black fucking agenda from fucking goddamn the Bronx, any outlaw gang. I don't care if they were blacker than Onyx. Every outlaw gang had Puerto Ricans within it. Don't care where they were from. Every Latin outlaw gang had black brothers in it or Moors in it, everywhere in the Bronx. I don't say that because I know of every gang outlaw gang's membership. No. I say that because of sheer fucking logistics. Every building had black and Latinos in it. There were no black buildings in the Bronx. There were no Latino buildings in the Bronx. You may have had a black block, but if there were Puerto Ricans living on that black block, especially if they came up together, you had Puerto Ricans that don't speak a lick of Spanish, that grew up in the same building, that were all, I mean, that all black brothers. And you think that these dudes don't play with each other, or you don't think that these dudes grow up with each other, or that they end up like having love for one another? You know what I'm saying? Like, dudes are corny though, man. Like, and it's basically remixed history. One of the things that makes New York dope is the fact that we exist in that capacity. in that we exist. Not and not everybody is kumbaya, trust me. But we ain't on that type of time like that either. And it like as Puerto Ricans, they're hurt by the fact that like these outside of New Yorkers, in a sense, or these dudes that are fired up because everything is about racial tension now. The last 10 years, everybody is on some racial tension shit, and I see a lot of people that are playing like trying to win the gold medal in the victim Olympics race. You know what I'm saying? And that really is getting nobody anywhere. You know, and I actually had a older brother come through yesterday, and we were having a little chop session. I don't have the link out this evening because I'm actually doing this off of StreamYard, and because I don't want to pay for a StreamYard subscription. I'm very cheap too, if you guys don't know. But he mentioned something which I've heard said before, and I didn't want to interject or cut him off or disagree with him in the spirit of the fact that I got love for him for just coming through and whatnot. I mean, and chopping it up with me. I can't recall the brother's name off the rip now, but in which he mentioned the fact that FBAs can be racist. I mean, everybody in the world has racism within them. Yes, I mean, our so-called black brothers, who I will never call FBA ever, which I'll properly refer to as Moors. So Moors, could Moors be racist towards other nationalities? Certainly. I mean, are there black brothers that don't like other nationalities in as a whole? That it'd be ridiculous to say not. In fact, I mean, um, when I was on that channel, scoreboard keepers, every other comment was shitting on like Puerto Ricans. I mean, all these Goya, like, like when I'm commenting all this Goya being PR wants to say, and I like, what am I supposed to do? Cry? You know what I'm saying? Like, like all these black dudes are like that. Like, nah, bro, that's ridiculous. If I were to get into some drama like where I needed my friend's help right now, I mean, like most of the dudes that are gonna show up are gonna be uh Moors. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the dudes that are gonna like that I have love like that in my circle are it's what it is. And going back to like the whole Bronx debate, like regardless of how like they try to carve things up, no matter what, there's anomalies. No matter what, whether your parents were telling like what were telling you, oh, that's Moreno music, and I don't want you listening to that shit, or that's black music, and I don't want you listening to that shit. That's gonna make the kids listen to it no matter what. Or like I don't like and there's a ton of kids that coming up heard their parents saying shit like regarding like black cats that was negative, but these kids were probably looking at their parents like, yo, you bugging, like I got love for Sean, like and he's from my building, like, and like a lot of parents a lot of times would switch it up, like I like, yeah, I made like they like where they would probably think like, listen, I don't want my kid hanging out with these black kids. But then they see like and then after time, like a lot of these parents who don't even speak English, who are fresh off the boat from Puerto Rico in the 70s, after time they got love for these kids too, because they're like, like that's my son's little man's right there, bro. Like how, like of course he could come, like he could come through and eat here on Christmas. Of course, he could sleep over. It's a ridiculous notion otherwise. I mean, like with these people that try to remix history, I mean, like they're only remixing history. No, I'm not saying they're only remixing history, because if you want to validate like that hip hop is quote unquote black music, I mean, like who would debate that? Like it's a retarded notion. But I'm not gonna say like I can't really put my foot down and say like, all right, every so-called facet of hip hop was created by black dudes, because I don't fucking know one. Most of these people that are trying to flip the script now, I mean, like they never contended any of these notions for at least 25 years, or if they did it on the low. or they didn't, not, or they like, or now, like now that they've been ratcheted up with the racial tension for 10 years. Like, I mean, post George Floyd, COVID era fucking racial tension that we all experience. Now they like, now they want to come out the woodwork and say some other shit. I'm not saying that these brothers and sisters are lying necessarily, but why wasn't that a contention they put forward in the past? Why were these dudes showing up to the Zulu Nation anniversaries, which is the birth of hip hop anniversary essentially, and kissing ass, when they should have been showing up and saying like, listen, this is all bullshit. Not like, like other people created DJing. This person created DJing, or this person created was the first MC, not you. They weren't doing any of that stuff at all. I mean, like the Zulu Nation anniversaries would have chop sessions where dudes was just build and talk about these things or talk about the future. They should have showed up. They could have showed up to that shit and said, "I disagree with with everything you guys have said along the years," but they didn't. But and now, like, I guess people get bored with their lives and want to come out and contend things, which is fine. I mean, if you're standing on truth, you are. But it seems as if a lot of these dudes, they want to flavor it with a little bit of hate on everybody and their moms, or hate on nationalities in mass or as a whole. Damn, am I seeing my fucking comments? If anybody could leave comment number one, I mean, I really appreciate it. Just I just want to make sure that I'm getting my chat works. But these people are now coming out the woodwork and making up, or not making up, but like adding new layers to the story. And with emotional dudes like Mighty Unmighty Hebrew from the channel Scoreboard Keepers, who have been debating this FBA versus Puerto Rico contention for, it seems like, the last couple weeks. The only facts that they care about are only the facts that validate the notion that they're putting forward. The notion they're putting forward is that no other nationality had zero to do with hip hop, period. And like, and the other notion they're putting forward is basically like allowing for bigotry against these other groups. They yesterday they had some herb from the Bronx that was half white and half black. Oh, thank you, Jeff, for name the Puerto Ricans who was there in the beginning in the early 70s. I can't name them. Why, Jeff? Because nobody could name anything that happened in the early 70s besides like what we know of history. Like, these new names that are popping up are just popping up in a sense. And it's not like that they're BSing, but the thing is that other names are going to pop up a month from now, like unvalidating these other names that are just popping up. And we'll be right back at this throughout the 2025. You know what I'm saying? But what I will tell you is that Puerto Ricans were in every project in the 70s, were in every hood in the 70s. And this is especially true in the Bronx. Jeff 2131. Thank you for coming through though, too, Jeff. But whereas, you know, now a lot of the people that are speaking on this, they've been pumping this girl who's Disco King Mario's daughter, like basically trying, like building her up so that, all right, you can't contend any single thing that she's saying. And she's basically at today said that she wasn't raised with her dad, who is Disco King Mario. Rest in peace to him. And Disco King Mario is a legend in hip hop history, underappreciated thoroughly. you know. But if she's a little bit older than me, which she said she was, and she wasn't raised with us that, according to her, but how is it that she's the authority on all these things all of a sudden, for the sake of this debate? And when she's a couple years older than me, she's my era of hip hop. That's like Rob Bass era. Come on, like, and how is that you're speaking on shit from early 70s? You should know if you say Puerto Ricans were involved in the early stages of hip hop. Well, no, like, because you don't know anybody who was involved with the early stages of hip hop. Who was the first MC, Jeff 2131? If you answer who the first MC was, I'll give you $100 right now. Who was the first MC? And I'll give you time to answer that. You can't answer that though. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like on the spirit of this debate, I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna come out the woodwork and try to front. That do you? It's probably a rumor as to who was the first dude putting it down on the mic, but who knows? Hip hop history at best is blurry. Hip hop started in the hood, in the Bronx, some of the poorest people in the world at that time, definitely some of the poorest in America. These dudes weren't documenting none of this shit. All of this stuff is hearsay by and large. The best accounts of hip hop history, unfortunate to say, is Zulu Nation. I mean, like, and if they had a bone to pick or a point of contention to make, and like to discount what Zulu Nation considered hip hop history, they could have showed up to Zulu Nation anniversaries, which basically stopped 2015 maybe, or 2016 is when they stopped doing the Zulu Nation anniversaries. But I mean, it was over 30 years. Again, this is not just a party that happens. This is also a building session that would happen too. Why ain't these dudes come through and say, listen, like fucking everything you guys are saying about hip hop history is a lie? They didn't. They didn't. I saw the movie Microphone Check. It was no Puerto Ricans. Yeah, but exactly. But you're still not saying, you still can't say who the first MC was. And listen, Jeff, I'm not gonna front. I can't tell you who the first MC was, in spite of the fact that I've built with the dudes who built hip hop. I can't name who the first MC was, and they probably can't name who the first MC was. Hip hop history at best is blurry. But what you can't say is that hip hop didn't have Puerto Ricans in the same calendar month that hip hop got off. You know why? Because Puerto Ricans and blacks were always cool in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. This like shit didn't change. Like, in spite of the fact that, like Puerto Ricans may have gone to war against black dudes, whether that be in jail, whether there be Latin gangs versus black gangs, there were no 100% Latin gangs. There were no 100% black gangs. Anybody will tell you is fronting. They're fronting big time. They don't know outlaw gang history, or they don't know gang culture. Hip hop was made by basically deading outlaw gang culture, by basically deading or stopping outlaw gang culture from fighting each other all the time, which is a beautiful thing. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that we had brothers that were improvising and beatboxing to make actual music without instruments. I mean, look at Fat Boys. They, no need for a producer, and it was ill. Like I remember when people would cipher up back in the day that there was always one dude that was nasty at beatboxing, and everybody would get off and have 2 hours of nonstop action, fun, fucking the purest hip hop you could think of. Like hip hop at its purest. And it wasn't like Puerto Rican would come through and they be like, nah, 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 like chill, chill, chill. Like these Puerto Rican dudes can't rock. Like, nah, that's not reality, bro. And the thing is too that like in spite of like Puerto Ricans when they first came to the Bronx, a lot of them were rickied out. Were fucking dressing with corny ass button up shirts, were wearing dressing shoes to play basketball, but they caught on real quick. I mean, we saw what was fly a lot of times, even if you weren't born there and you want to get fly. I mean, like, who are the flyest people dressing in New York City streets? You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, how do you not want to get that way? But when you with like what cornballs like this dude Mighty Hebrew do is that they try to frame it like, oh well, these dudes are just biting us. Oh, these dudes were copying us. Everybody in New York copies everybody. I have a lot of dudes that copy my steez of all complexions. If you're a trendsetter, people are gonna copy you. Like black dudes never copy Puerto Rican dudes in the streets of New York. That just never happens. You know what I'm saying? Like Black dudes don't know any Puerto Rican slang one bit. It's just impossible to fathom. Like it retarded. And in spite of I hate reggaeton. I mean, I don't know how to say I hate music. Hate's a strong word. I don't like reggaeton music. Personally, but I've been going out pretty much since the 90s, like to clubs, not to no fucking team parties. Let me see, Master John. What you mean by FBA? What I mean by FBA is this new terminology that just started being pumped up. And peace to you. Happy New Year, Michael Johnson, boxing talk more. What I mean by FBA is the new terminology that started being pumped out to title so-called black dudes in America that just started being pumped in 2024. I mean, like, and a lot of what I see of so-called people using the title FBA is emotional men. Honestly, I'm not even gonna say haters. I'm just gonna say emotional dudes. Coke Rock was the first MC in hip hop in the movie Microphone Check. That's a point of contention that really can't be proved, honestly. I mean, and shout out to Coke Rock, legendary in the hip hop in the annals of hip hop history. However, I mean, I can't prove 100% that he was the first MC, especially nowadays. Now all this history is blurry because I guarantee you, in a couple months, there's gonna be somebody else saying that no, 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 no. This person wasn't the first. I was the first. So I mean, like, Mighty Hebrew or that dude Mighty Hebrew, who's a lame, um, will ride with all these so-called factoids that he thinks he's discovering as if they're 100% fact until like in a few weeks somebody else says some other shit and then he'll have to remix history. But a lot of these dudes just want to remix it in the sense of we were all like I'll get to that in a minute. Like all these dudes are biters who like hip hop that aren't black. They're just biters and they're just crabs and coming into the culture. When that's not the case, hip hop culture is not like that. Hip hop culture in New York City is not like that. It's never been that way. There's never been a time in which Puerto Ricans are doing anything hip hop and you'll have black brothers be like, nah, bro, these dudes are jacking our style. Like, nah, it's like that would be retarded. Like, in fact, everything about hip hop is basically to try to make the party bigger, to try to make the cipher bigger. And in reality, there is no planet. Again, I gotta come back to this point because I really gotta break down things into logical terms. Again, Puerto Rican. I mean, like, I'm not saying this being biased, but there's not many chicks in the world that are better looking than Puerto Rican women. There would be no party setting in which Puerto Rican women would not be allowed entry on the basis that they're Puerto Rican, unless you're talking about homosexuals. And I mean, like, are we gonna flip the script and say like homosexuals started hip hop like pretty soon, like they do with all other bits of history? I mean, like I remember recently people were trying to say Martin Luther King was might have been bisexual. I mean, like that, like when they remix history like that, that's okay. I with the FBA, I seem to have like slept on that little factoid or that little bit of lies that were trying to pump by likely by white people. They let that rock, but leave it to them. Like when they're gonna come at other real dudes of New York, i.e., Puerto Rican dudes, who are by genetically Moorish, just like these so-called black dudes are as well, which I will never refer to as FBA. FBA is an internet term that just came out. Let me keep reading the comments. Damn, I wish I could wait. I could show you guys comments. But Jeff. In spite of the fact that we may not agree, much love for coming through. Much love for commenting. I hate talking on these things where I'm just blowing in. FBA is a lineage. I mean, that's what that's what they're saying right now. But FBA at the end of the day, my brother Jeff, is something that just popped up, and ADOS is basically like the FDA of 2020 of 2024. And trust me, Tariq Nasheed better be on his best. Tariq Nasheed better not have no be in no white woman's DMs. This dude better not have snitched on nobody in the past. because if any skeleton comes out, I predict any skeleton comes out on Tariq Nasheed, the term FBA will go out faster than ADOS did. And I'm not shitting on, I'm not saying that this is like something that new terminology is something that so-called black brothers are pre-genetically disposed to do. No. But I, as a Puerto Rican, I could speak on these things because there are no thought police. If you have negative things to say about Puerto Rican, I mean, it's acceptable. I'll allow it. But do want to give a critique for my Moorish brothers in that the whole renaming or rebranding of what you are is not helping the matter, because it's basically marrying into every black man in America being a descendant of slaves. And that's just not true. That's not true one bit. Every black person in America did not come from African slaves. Bugging. Let me see. FBA is in it. So you talking about those that use the title or black folk in general? Nah, Michael Johnson boxing talking more. I'm not talking about black folk in general, which I'm not gonna refer to black dudes as black no more. Many times either. I'm letting it rock for the beginning of 2024, but I'm not rocking with even black anymore. That's why I don't know if you've peeped it in my boxing videos or in interactions that we've had like online. I try to say so-called black um, because I've had a belief in Moorish history for about a decade now. Um, and if you guys don't know too, I'm quasi conscious. I'm not part of the conscious community, but I was up on everything that was coming out of the conscious community, because before there was a conscious community online, I would build with what you would consider conscious brothers in downtown Brooklyn, in Fulton Mall, since I was a kid. When I would cut class, to Fulton Mall, like, and walk that whole strip, act like I was gonna go see my dad in Central Booking, act like my dad was going to court. This is not true. Those things aren't true. Like, I would just say that so that I don't get busted by the truancy cops. And if the brothers were out by the DeKalb Ave station preaching Israelites or Nuwabians, I would just chop it up. I wasn't buying shit because I ain't have bread, but I would chop it up with these dudes, and they break down like my first and last name. It was dope, bro. Like, and they would show nothing but love. They ain't come and like, this, and I look like a white boy, my peoples. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could pass. That's not a good thing either. I don't say that proudly. Like, these light skinned brothers, like they if they come out with light eyes, motherfuckers think they're genuine. But these dudes that are what you would consider super conscious, because they were conscious before the internet, weren't saying like, yo, get the fuck out of here, Puerto Rican kid, like, or get the fuck out of here, like somebody who, you too light. Like, nah, these dudes show nothing but love. And that's not because, like, how Herbs, like this dude Mighty Hebrew on the channel Scoreboard Keeper, it's not because what, or the people that are in his comment section saying, like, popping off with bigotry on Puerto Ricans. It's not because the black brothers in New York are gullible, or it's not because, like, they allowed us to say the N-word, so these dudes gotta have a problem. Like that's how these dudes want to frame everything as, it's basically a shit session on things that they hate on, which a lot of times, I mean, from my experience, I mean, do people hate on Puerto Ricans? I mean, at times. I mean, like, yeah, we fly too. I mean, like, we're a fly ass nation. We're a fly ass people. We're extremely proud. I mean, and at times so proud that it gets annoying. The flag waving. I'm not with that flag waving shit. My dad used to wear a fucking a basketball jersey with the Puerto Rican flag, and I would be embarrassed by that shit, because I mean, and then he's wearing high socks with that shit, a fucking Kangol hat, looking ridiculous. Like, I'm not one of them dudes, and I never liked that stuff. But we're a very proud nation at the end of the day. I mean, like, but If and people may find that annoying. People may hate on that, but in the spirit of a corny ass debate like the one that we're having now, which is basically FBA versus Puerto Rican, like online with online dudes. This doesn't happen in real life because I'll go to New York tomorrow and build with my black brothers, my so-called black brothers, and they'll show me nothing but love. But online, everybody got remix history. Somebody online in this scoreboard keepers panel that I was on was saying that Puerto Ricans started saying the N word because of the movie Fresh, which came out in the 90s, and that character Chucky, I think his name was, saying the N word over and over. Every Puerto Rican in New York City, if they're from the streets, says the N word just as much as they say the word duh, just as much as they say the word him, just as much as they say the word woman. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that that's acceptable. I'm just saying that's what it's been. I mean, like, Puerto Ricans may mislabel themselves as Latinos, I mean, solely, but our blood genetically is Moorish or Moreno, according to Puerto Ricans. Our blood is Indian or Indios, according to Puerto Ricans. And our blood is Spanish or Español, according to Puerto Ricans. Now, I don't accept that history neither. I think that our oldest edifice is El Morro, which literally translates, which is a fortification in Puerto Rico, a castle to some people. And that word El Morro, the title of this fortification, which I showed yesterday on my live stream, translates literally to the Moor. I mean, if you guys want to say Moors are Arabs, you guys are totally twisted. Just like you think, I mean, so you could basically say Egypt was run by Arabs too. I mean, like fucking because that's if you want to run with that BS history too, you go by your own devices. I'm not trying to convince people that they're Moors. I mean, that's on you. But genetically, I feel that Puerto Ricans hating on black brothers are basically hating on themselves, but does that mean that every black brother is contending against Puerto Ricans or vice versa? Absolutely not. And just because black brothers do build with Puerto Ricans, whether that be in hip hop, whether that be in gangs, whether that be in whatever, selling drugs, it has zero to do with the fact that fucking these like and that which when these things play out in New York, as far as the bond that exists with blacks and Puerto Ricans, that's not because black dudes in New York are gullible or pussy. Like these dudes are more black dudes in New York City are some of the most thorough cats in the universe, is because real recognize real. I mean, there's a lot of dudes in Puerto Rico that are real, or there's a lot of dudes that are Puerto Ricans that are real ass dudes, and there's a lot of black dudes that are real ass dudes. Hip hop is about being real. Hip hop is about not being bunned. Hip hop is about not being a biter. And that's a culture we could rock with. That's a culture that is also ours. Stop fronting. Like, and these out of town dudes can't speak on this shit. Like this dude, from Philadelphia, Hebrew National or Proud Hebrew, whatever the fuck he calls himself, lame ass dude, emotional. Like fronting like he was a street dude that went to college. Like my man, no, you went to college, and your rap was whack as fuck. This dude played his rap songs. He must have had 100 dudes on the stream. As soon as he started playing his raps, that shit jumped down to 30. Dude, like sounding like a fucking like Lord Digger swallowed a bee. Corny ass dude. But these dudes, like everything about it is, I mean, like, and the thing is too that I can't frame my Moorish brothers as victims all the time. Like stop fronting. Like these dudes only want to act like everybody's just putting the wool over the black man's eyes at a constant, and like the black man's like being victimized at a constant. Like I mean, like that's not the reality. I mean, like do people capitalize off? I mean, do people want to keep my brothers down? Absolutely. I say that the man will invest trillions in keeping brothers down. They want brothers running around looking stupid. You know, I mean, are brothers doing that like better now that they than they have been in the past? And I'm not shitting on my brothers. I'm stating the fact. You know, like what like, and will this FBA thing spur on building amongst brothers? Absolutely not. Once like brothers were shitting on each other in the like debating this topic on that scoreboard keepers channels panel. You know what I'm saying? Like and it's not because brothers are pre-genetically disposed in that fashion neither. It's just because at the end of the day, we're all fucked up in the game. I mean, like, hopefully 2025 switches it up for all of us. And I want my brothers to win. And even this her ass dude, Mighty Hebrew, like, I don't want to see that brother doing bad. You know, like, I mean, like, it's just that if you want to discuss things and break things down, you can't like fucking be emotional, like you somebody's baby's mother or some shit and fucking try to silence people in that fashion. Like, I mean, like as soon as like there was some other Puerto Rican Dr. Cologne or some shit. Who I don't even know what the fuck like who this guy is besides these debates. But as soon as this dude got on the panel, it was basically like 10 minutes of some shorty cursing him out, then some other dude who was half white, half black. The other dude that was half white, half black, shitting on all Jamaicans, like fuck all these like tethers, like yo, like and like basically and like so now they run a run with some shit like liberal white people calling Latin dudes Latinx, which Latin dudes should find offensive. I mean, like fucking but you know now we got on in the spirit of this FBA internet movement that's popping off, want to call everything that's not claiming that they're of African slave ancestry to be tethers if they're black or darker. Like dudes are corny. I mean, like it seemed as if in this past November around Thanksgiving time that West Indians, whether that be Jamaicans, Panamanians, Guyanese cats that look black, were considered brothers a couple weeks ago. But let some corny ass debate like this pop off, and you know now they're enemies. And you know, like I'm not on that time one bit. I mean, because that's not my reality. I mean, love, you're gonna cook? Go ahead. I'm gonna have to bring this party upstairs. Go ahead, love. I'll turn the computer away. Actually, I'll just go to my bedroom. My apologies, my people. But it seems that in the spirit of this debate, like what I don't want to pop off is that like after all the dust settles with this corny ass debate that really emanated. I'm gonna do it right here from the stairs, though. Actually, I'll just go upstairs. Yeah, I'm gonna go upstairs. My back is killing me, my peoples. My apologies. You get the home tour. My house is a mess. But in the spirit of this debate, I don't want an everlasting beef between like Jamaicans and like so-called blacks, like moving forward. Could that shit pop off? Absolutely. And we don't need that, bro. Like we don't need that kind of energy moving into 2024, especially. And I don't want like no rivalry to exist between you know some between Puerto Ricans and so-called black brothers who I'll never refer to as FBAs. And on the inside group, like these nationalities have to play the race role. Black dudes have to link up with black dudes in jail. Dominican dudes have to link up with Dominican dudes in jail. Like Dominican dudes in jail don't fuck with Puerto Ricans like that. Puerto Ricans have to link up with Puerto Ricans in jail. But when you throw some corny debate like this, which is all like running with a lot of hate, a lot of hate. Even Lord Jamal, like Jamal be sounding like an ill hater, like real reframer of history, acting like basically like he not around like the dynamic of how Puerto Ricans are in New York City, acting brand new, like and like maybe like reinforcing like the racism that exists rather than reinforcing the love that exists. You know what I'm saying? And I hope, like, I predict. I'm not saying that I want this to happen one iota, but I know how Puerto Ricans are, honestly. Like, Puerto Ricans are stupid, like a lot of us. Like, or as far as in the streets, like, I mean, like, when we're very, very proud. I could totally foresee somebody trying to line up like Lord Jamal. And I'm not saying that Lord Jamal's pussy. I don't know the man's gangster like that. I met Lord Jamal. Um, but I know that and in New York City, there's a ton of Puerto Ricans, and somebody's gonna ask them in a very negative connotation, like what it is, and they ain't even gonna ask, more likely than not. Honestly, some stupidity may pop off, and that's the last thing, any I want or anybody else want, in spite of the fact that I don't agree with Lord Jamal every statement in this, and that Lord Jamal is letting a lot of bullshit rock in the spirit of this stupid ass debate. Like, do I want to see harm done to Lord Jamal? Do I want to see like bad things come in his direction? Or do I want him to be proven like abjectly wrong? Nah, man. Like, I love Brand Nubian. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of the like I remember in seventh grade singing What Goes Around um with my man Kamal and with my man Joel, in class. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking and I rock my low because of Brand Nubian, or know what the fly flavors are because of Brand Nubian. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the biggest Brand Nubian fan, but I mean, I'm a big Poop fan though. I love Poop, but I don't want like nothing bad to come to any of these people. Even this emotional dude, Hebrew National, or Mighty Hebrew from the channel Scoreboard Keepers, who silenced me by using emotions while I was on his panel, and who was scary. You know what I'm saying? Like, your boy try to pull up today and see what's up, and like try to contend these notions in a peaceful setting. I mean, it's not like I'm just throwing trollery out in the air, or like saying like shit that's controversial or harmful. Nah, I always build with brothers in my everyday existence. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, and we hardly ever agree. Not on these things. I mean, like, in general. Like, I mean, most of the dudes I chop it up with, I argue with, but I got love for them. But if you have, if my peoples that I built with, which this would never happen, but if they're constantly on some you fucking rice eating, like, yeah, you can't speak on this, like, nah, that's girly shit, bro. That's girly shit, and that's what Mighty Hebrew was acting like, an emotional baby mom. Let me read some of these comments though. And 8 people are here now. Much love, my friends. Like, and I have a lot of comments. Much love to Jeff 2131. What's that name mean too? I mean, if you with it, I mean, as far as the numbers go. But and much love to my brother Michael Johnson, boxing talk and more. I'm gonna read some of the comments now though, so you guys can give me a break. Um, so you talking about those that use the title or black folk in general? Nah. Remember, like, I think I answered that question already. It's on Google. You could look it up. As far as the term, a lot of shit is on Google. That's up for debate. Saying Puerto Rican women are the most beautiful. I don't contend that notion, but they're among the most beautiful. I mean, my as far as nationality goes, I mean, I'm not gonna front. I mean, like, the with Latina women, it's probably like a tie between Colombian, Puerto Rican. That's it, honestly. Because, like, I mean, I would say Argentina. I mean, Argentina has some foxes, but there's a lot of very pale women there. Like, I just like the way they speak. I mean, I know Spanish. And what I find hot is different than what somebody else may find hot. Um, Ethiopian women look better. Ethiopian women are bad too, though, man. I lived in DC for a short time. The only thing with my only complaint with Ethiopian women is that, like, a lot of them just talk to Ethiopian dudes. Or I noticed that Ethiopian dudes like get very butthurt about other people talking to their women. It's the same thing, just a different term. FBA is a lineage. I mean, it's a lineage that started in 2024. I mean, because the term didn't exist prior to 2024, my brother. People always try to get on Tariq Nasheed, but can't. I really never checked his work like that. I mean, I did love the movie. I mean, like, I did watch the movie his first documentary, Hidden Colors Part One, and it was because it had the illest dude on the internet, Asir the Duke of Tears, putting down Moorish history. Now he went in another direction after that. I mean, like, and I didn't watch them after that. I mean, like, not to say that all his work is shitty, but I mean, he's speaking on hip hop history when the dude's 50 years old. Hip hop history, or the dudes that first started hip hop, are probably in their 70s, 60s. And in addition to the fact that I looked it up, and the dude is from either Detroit or LA. Detroit, LA, down south got hip hop after 1979, you know? Or if they did, they didn't get it as soon as hip hop got created. They were outsiders looking in. There were Puerto Ricans that knew of hip hop before the South knew about hip hop. There were Puerto Ricans that were participating in hip hop before anywhere outside of New York participated in hip hop. That's a fact. Mr. Johnson Boxing talk. Are the Ricans black or are they white? No, Puerto Ricans aren't black or white. Puerto Ricans are Moorish or Moreno, Indian or Indio, and um, of Spain or Español. But Spain, I mean, is debatable. In addition to the fact that I'm not calling every brother of America to be a descendant of African slaves, because that's just not possible and it's not true. Spain and the white world didn't conquer the whole entire world in 1949, because logistically, I mean, brothers are some of the strongest, most thorough dudes I know. If some Europeans got off some boats, regardless of what technology they had, brothers could have been posted up in any corner of Jamaica when white people showed up, in any corner of Puerto Rico when white people showed up, and fought them off with rocks. Because you ain't gonna come off of a European venture and come off the ship and be ready to fight off the rip. And I haven't seen many. I mean, if I had to put my bet between any black dude versus any white dude, or any so-called black dude versus any white dude, my money would be on the black dude because of genetics. Like, I mean, like, and what I've seen in real life. I mean, black dudes that I've seen are exceptional fighters. They're in great shape. And they're not pussies. I mean, are our ancestors that pussy where they were that easily conquered? I don't think so. I think a lot of black people were already in America, or so-called black people were already in America. And I honestly don't even think that we were conquered. I think that we were doing the same shit we're doing now. Like fucking being our own worst enemy. But I mean, that's another conversation. There's a difference between us and FBA and people from Africa and Caribbean. If you could, Mr. Brian Morrison, I don't know, like, who's us though in this debate. There's a difference between us and FBAs and people from Africa, Caribbean, etc. Yeah, there is a difference. I mean, like, I'm not like Puerto Ricans have their own culture, Jamaicans have their own culture, Trinidadian cats have their own culture, but New Yorkers have their own culture. Brothers in the South have their own culture. When New Yorkers get around brothers from the South, I mean, like, if we meet other New Yorkers, we'll talk shit like, yo, these country motherfuckers, like, like, it's not like we build with every so-called black dude, like, or brothers build with every so-called black dude on the basis of that they're brothers or skin, and it's unfair to classify every black dude in the world or in America as just a color, black. It's not the case. And black brothers are more bronze, copper complexion. I mean, like, they don't look black. And I mean, like, this is a different subject, but I've seen so-called African brothers of Africa, um, who don't refer to themselves as Africans. They'll refer to themselves as Nigerian, as of the Congo, as Liberian, as Egyptian, but they're not going to refer to themselves as all African unless they're talking to dumbass Americans that don't know these countries. But by and large, they'll define as their own country. But having said that, though, I've never seen many so-called African brothers with last names like Boateng or some shit um come here and be embraced by black brothers of the US. I've actually seen second generation African brothers not be embraced that were born in America and had kids here, that their kids aren't embraced by um so-called American black brothers, because there's a difference there. It absolutely, that like culturally is still a difference, or genetically they might be. I believe there's a difference. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Dominicans swear up and down that they aren't black and they are Taino. We've tried the Pan African stuff; it don't work. They don't like us. Period. I mean, a lot, but you got to think about it though. Like they're operating on ignorance though. A lot of Dominicans swear up and down that they don't claim Taino; they actually claim Quisqueya. Um, But look at how off, like some of the most off people right now are in the Caribbean, and Dominicans are culturally off right now. I mean, and that's why you see a lot of these brothers bleaching their skin and living fucked up. That's why they a lot of these brothers allow that Europeans come into their country, into these resorts, men, and fuck little boys, basically. I'm sorry to put it so bluntly. I mean, if that's not a race that's tripping, I mean, what is? And leave it to them. Like when it comes to Haitians, like these dudes be wanting to kill them. And it's not on the basis of the fact that they're black. They just hate Haitians. It seems. I mean, they don't have love for Haitians. And I mean, I've been around Haitians in this country. I mean, like of any Caribbean group, it seems like the group that nobody gets along with are Haitians. Their culture is very different, though. I mean, Haitians are very like they're not a lot of times like they don't like to joke and shit like that. And a lot of them, honestly, they're extremely intelligent. Like Haitians know Spanish well, they can speak English well. A lot of them are very great students in America, and a lot of them look at like other Caribbeans as like we're wasting our time, like with all this partying and shit. Like they look at us as if we're like lazy and whatnot. And that's honestly a lot of times their assessment is actually fair, you know, because they're about their business, at least in New York, whereas Puerto Ricans a lot of times aren't, and they've grown up seeing that, being that they're also a part of the fabric of New York, but they also have to experience at times the ire of these misguided Dominican cats who are dissing their own roots. Their own roots are Haitian. I mean, like Haitians didn't just get there and pour into one half of the country, and Spanish people are on the other half of the country as far as Dominicans, and that's why they have a rivalry. I also believe that Haiti is the real France, but that's another story. You guys should listen to Asir, the Duke of Tears. It's Aseer, the word the Duke as in Duke, Tears as in Tiers. And that brother's putting down his more history. I'm going to refer to him as well in some of these points that I do want to make in the future, but please, you guys should go check out his work. Um, Brian Morrison also commented, but behold, if this was easily dismissible, why it ruffled so many feathers? I'm not sure what contention you're alluding to as is what's easily dismissible. What I will say is that a lot of times, like on the channel that I was on yesterday and today, is that you have a lot of emotional cats that are making statements on the heels of this debate, like, oh, fuck these Goya beating, like in the comments, I was seeing that all day. And it's not like, oh my, oh God, the FBA hates Puerto Ricans. Like I can't exist. Like, nah, I don't give a shit. Like, there's this dudes online. I like to tell myself that these are white boys that are just stirring it up, like so we could hate on each other. So I could, it helps me rest easier. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, like, I've experienced black dudes, shitting on Latin cats, but that's them though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen blacks fight against Puerto Ricans in massive groups, but that's not a representation of everybody. There's always anomalies. And honestly, in New York City, that's not even an anomaly. Like in New York City, I mean, like people like myself who, you know, um, I grew up in church, like in Pentecostal church, in spite of the fact that I was in the streets too. But up until like 13 years old, my mom fucking she would not let me not go to church. And my church was completely Spanish speaking Pentecostal, fucking 8-hour marathon type church. Everybody in that church whose parents, none of them spoke English, loved hip hop. All the kids. You know what I'm saying? Like we would go to the basement and like some of the older kids with fucking windmills and all this shit. Bananas, bro. Like, and of course, like, we don't look at like hip hop, like when Spanish people refer to hip hop, they'll say like in Spanish that like if they, and these are people speaking out of turn, but they're actually, because Spanish people are using the term moreno in referring to black, they're actually framing it in the proper terms. In that Spanish people will say, "Yo, hip hop is moreno music," but and that's absolutely true. In that hip hop is so called black music. What's the beef? But like, it's like I'm not gonna allow some internet herb to try to like frame everything in which all Puerto Ricans gotta submit because they're all biters. Or they'll say shit like all these dudes are tethers, all these dudes are cosplaying like hip hop. Like hip hop is about real ass dudes. If you think that Puerto Ricans are cosplaying being real ass dudes, go to New York and go anywhere and say like, I don't fuck with these Puerto Rican dudes. You go somewhere where there's black people and you'll have a hard time saying that shit. Like, I'm not saying it because I'm Puerto Rican, and I'm telling you honestly, in the streets, I've beefed with mostly Puerto Ricans. And that's never been easy. You know why? Because Puerto Ricans give it up just as much as black brothers do. No, Disco King Mario's daughter was saying like that Puerto Ricans like weren't gangsters in the 70s, even though she's 50 years old and didn't grow up in the 70s. Like Puerto Ricans are gangsters in Puerto Rico. I mean, like, Dominican dudes are gangsters. And these dudes are like hicked out. Like there's some of the most gangster dudes in New York, like Dominican dudes. And these are quote unquote my rivals. Like gangsters exist everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like there's thorough dudes everywhere, but to say that Puerto Ricans aren't thorough, I mean the world knows we're thorough. The world knows that Puerto Ricans are known for cutting people, for holding it down. I mean, otherwise, I mean, any one of these dudes could make Puerto Ricans their recreation in jail, and that doesn't happen. I mean, you actually hear more stories of, oh, I don't fuck with these Puerto Rican dudes because they stick to their own. I mean, like, if it was that easy, I mean, like, anybody could break us down. I mean, but that doesn't happen in any jail. That doesn't happen in any New York City setting. And it's not because we outnumber any group besides like maybe Dominicans. I mean, like, or like, but we don't outnumber black people in New York. But we ain't overrun by anybody, and that's not like Puerto Ricans don't have outright contention with anybody. Black brothers don't have outright contention with other groups. But leave it to some internet outsider or some internet emotional dude, and they'll make it seem as if that's the dynamic that just plays out, or that we're just on some biting shit, like, oh, we just gotta be like our black brothers. Nah, we want to be like the freshest shit in New York. If it's at times black brothers, I mean, like, fine. But did we add to this culture? Like, I mean, like, these dudes want to make it seem like, nah, I mean, like, like this cornball ass dude, Mighty Hebrew, was showing videos of like dudes like Rocksteady crew going into like a national TV show like in the 80s, and these dudes are wearing like these corny ass like full suit spandex outfits, and he's only showing the Puerto Rican dudes breakdancing, and like he's narrating the shit like, yo, look at these weird ass look at these weird ass like this corny ass fucking term weird. Everything's fucking weird, like with everybody. That's another fucking corny thing we gotta leave in 2024. You know what I'm saying? The internet's fucking weird, and the internet's full of goddamn weirdos. But in that same performance, which I've seen, and you guys could find online in the Rocksteady doing some shit in TV where they're wearing these red spandex outfits. A lot of those brothers that were dancing there were also black brothers. So I mean, like, but he's only showing the Puerto Ricans one and making it seem like, we're just on some weird shit. Meanwhile, early hip hop, these dudes were dressing like fucking village people. Grant, like, fucking Melly Mel. I mean, and Melly Mel is a fucking thorough ass dude. Melly Mel was dressing on some village people type shit, in addition to half of hip hop. It was the weirdest fucking era ever of hip hop. You ain't saying them dudes is weird. I mean, like, and it's not that it's weird. I mean, it's just the times, bro. Like fucking like the 80s are far different than now. But again, you want to like, you allow internet dudes to frame shit um for the sake of an argument, and of course they're gonna go out of pocket. But I mean, like, when your boy Behold try to show up to this panel and see what up, like, nah, we can't build it. We can't build this dude's gonna add nothing, like, corny shit, bro. Like, Big Pun is very respectable. Big Pun is an ill MC, one of the illest MCs, honestly, and I'm not being biased. Somebody on that panel, like on that channel, was also like kept repeating the like Big Pun is lame. Big Pun is lame. Big Pun is lame. Rest in peace to Big Pun. But let me see. Shakap Twitterson is a wuss. LOL. I don't know who that is. Sorry, Brian Morrison. I'm saying us, me as an FBA. I mean, I'm not gonna refer to you as an FBA if you're a black brother, respectfully. I don't use new terms. Like, I'm not gonna say like that a good meal is bussing. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking unless you feel that describing yourself as black is a detriment, and FBA endorses that cause, which I don't feel it does, because FBA is basically tying every black brother up in America to African descendants of slaves, and not all brothers who are black in America have descended from African slaves. Puerto Rican infrastructure, Puerto Rican structures will prove you otherwise. And if you go around America, which I have many times, um, in my old age, you'll see fortifications that are ancient, which they'll actually call Moorish fortifications. I mean, like, they could have came up with another name and they haven't. Dominicans and Haitians share an island but different history. It depends though too. I mean, all history has gotten remixed. I mean, like, and you're seeing it happening now in real time. I mean, like right now, with this massive wave of migration, they're just going straight into the hood, into black hoods, honestly. Like, they're pouring all these migrants in New York City into black hoods. Um, and this is like some people say up to 30 million people. History is going to change once again, or the terminologies are going to switch up, like, and they're happening in real time. I mean, like, you can't, like, people want it cisgender. You ever heard of that bullshit? Or fucking they them, in referring to each other, like, people switch up the rules all the time. And in fact, people will get emotional about switching up the rules on you. You could go up to a woman right now and say, good evening, ma'am, and some bitch get out of pocket like, I'm not ma'am, like, like fucking, or like, I'm not a lady, I'm a whatever, like, all right, whatever, like fucking, like. So I mean, like, we see it happening in real time, and in a sense we let it happen um because people are afraid to piss somebody else off. But people are going to be looking for something to be pissed off about anyway. So to piss people off, honestly, is necessary if it's to get down to the truth. Yep, Jeff couldn't be any more different as far as Dominicans and Haitians. Yeah, and that's a travesty. Jeff 2031 said, "Yeah, we know Puerto Ricans get down. I seen a video of a shootout in Puerto Rico. It was brutal. I actually seen that same video. If it's the same one, like where they did that drive by in Puerto Rico. My son, I let my son watch it. My son's not a baby either. My son's in his 20s, but I let him see that video recently. And shit like that happens all the time in Puerto Rico. Like in Puerto Rico, dudes will try to rob your car, shoot up your car like fucking excessively, and then leave the car there and then burn the car with you in it. Like Puerto Rico is bad, bro. Like Puerto Ricans suffer from a lot of the shit that I've seen brothers in America suffer, which is deep rooted self hate. Yeah, we know how. Where was the live you were on? It's a channel called Scoreboard Keepers. Um, and listen, like I'm not shitting. I am shitting on the dude that's on that channel. Mighty Hebrew is an emotional broad, but or acting like an emotional broad. Hopefully he switches it up. I mean, like just because you behave one way one day, you're not that doesn't mean that that's your character. I hope that's not his character. I don't know that brother besides me being on his panel and him being emotional and silencing me, and then me trying to go onto the panel again and him going on a girl tirade. But the channel is called Scoreboard Keepers, one word. And listen, like please go subscribe to them also, because I mean I see hundreds of people on their live, and the dudes literally went live 24 hours on this debate, and a lot of what they were saying, 95% of what they were saying was based on them being haters. However, um this shit is hard doing YouTube, and they did it for 24 hours at least. They've been doing it every day, talking about this shit. So, I mean, as you guys, like people that view YouTube, like subscribe to them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Brian Morrison asked, was that was today? I think it was. Well, today I was commenting a bunch there, and they weren't letting me on. I actually was on the panel, and then right when I got on the panel, the other dude that was on the channel was like, "Oh, we're gonna let this guy Behold come on again," and he's like, "Nah, we got hip hop royalty in the house." They were talking about Disco King, Mario's daughter. We ain't gonna like we ain't gonna let nobody dilute the message by like switching it up, basically being abroad, like acting scary. Not that I'm gonna like fucking hit him with hard body facts. My facts are just the same. I mean, like these dudes act like brothers don't show Puerto Ricans love in New York City and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Like brothers didn't accept us into the hip hop culture. You know what I'm saying? Like at any point. Like it was basically, oh, these dudes do not ride with us at all. The only way that they'll get any bit of this culture is by them biting us. Otherwise, Puerto Ricans cannot enter. Nah. Like even black dudes that don't know you in New York, like when they say yo pape, like you know what I'm saying, like fucking like my experience honestly is that a lot of brothers, if they don't know you from Adam, they'll show you more love than like Puerto Rican, like than they would other brothers, and that's not right. I'm not saying that they're doing like that, oh they're these loving people. Like no, like I wish like they would build with each other far more, you know what I'm saying, in a perfect world. But they're not on like enemy time with us, and we're not on enemy time with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's been that way. Like fucking yes, are there Puerto Ricans that don't like black people? Absolutely. Are there black people that don't like Puerto Ricans? Yes. Oh, that's another point that I wanted to make. There was a brother on this show that me and him had a little chop session after my brother Q. Who I know Q from the streets. I don't know Q from YouTube. But my brother my brother Q was on my live stream at first, and then another brother was on after the fact, and we were chopping it up. But the brother said something that I didn't disagree with on the spot, but I did. I'll say that I disagree with now. In that he mentioned that so-called black brothers can't be racist and we didn't go deep into the subject. And I heard this said before, and it's not racist, but I know that so-called black brothers don't like at there's many so-called black brothers that don't like fucking Puerto Ricans, and that's fine. Like, I mean, if they hate Puerto Ricans, I mean, do I gotta live my life based on a hater's like perspective? No, because not everybody's a fucking hater, you know. Um, Also, too, when I said my story about going down to Albee Square Mall and chopping it up with the Conscious Brothers, I mean, if you guys know Brooklyn, New York, Fulton Mall area, that's very black. I mean, I would go down to the Fulton Mall area with my mom Dukes. My mom was never like, and we look like fucking. My mom's looks similar color to me. You know, like we're fucking very pale. Um, People wouldn't shit on us like that, bro. Like, come on, like it's never been that type of time. Like, it really can't be that type of time in New York because in New York everybody's piled in with each other. Especially true in the Bronx. The Bronx, you can't fit another fucking mouse in the Bronx. The Bronx is fucking packed out with people. You know, and it's not like a black person would move into a building in the Bronx and say, I'm not gonna move here because there's too many Puerto Ricans. You know, you move where the fuck you could afford. And most times you couldn't afford shit back then, from what I know. Where was the that's the live though. The channel again is called Scoreboard Keepers, and subscribe to those brothers. In fact, like in spite of the fact that I don't agree with them, like do subscribe to them. Yeah, it was a drive by. It was like 4 or 5 dudes that got killed. The other guy had switches and they spun back. Yeah, I peeped that shit, bro. That shit was raw, man. Very, very raw. That was today. No, today I was trying to get on the panel. I was actually on the panel and they booted me. But the dude that booted me was being a hoe. I mean, his name is Mighty Hebrew. I actually put his name on the title of this video, but the dude's a straight hoe, like or acting like a straight hoe. I mean, like hopefully he doesn't behave that way in perpetuity. Hopefully that's not his character. I hope his character is not one of a whole ass dude from Philly. I know a lot of dudes in Philly. My Allegheny brothers, my Northwest brothers. I know a lot of dudes in Germantown. You know, and they don't get down in that fashion. These dudes are thorough. They don't like New Yorkers, and they'll let you know what's up. You know what I'm saying? But they ain't like no hoes like that. They ain't gonna go get emotional. Like, I can't hear this dude talk. I can't listen to this dude. Like, you know. And on top of that, too, that dude Mighty Hebrew played his own music in the live stream again, and the shit had probably 100 viewers on that live. As soon as he started playing his whack ass music, that shit went down to the 30s. His music sucks bad. Fat Joe is not a good rapper. This dude is a quarter of the talent of Fat Joe, who I got no respect for Fat Joe's talent. Fat Joe is a regular ass A to B rapper. I mean, I'm not like, I mean, if Fat Joe probably caught me slipping with his team, I mean, like for saying this, I mean, like they'll probably set it on Behold. But the truth is the truth. Fat Joe is not a great rapper, but that dude, Mighty Hebrew, and I'm not saying this being a hater. I mean, you guys could go peep his work. He actually took the time to freestyle a few times, not freestyles, to spit some of his whack ass writtens on the channel. In addition to the fact that he played his own music on the channel, the shit's trash. This shit's garbage. You know what I'm saying? Like, but this dude want to speak on hip hop like he's an authority, but you're from Philly, and everything that you're making seem as if it's history, somebody else is telling you recently, or you're just pretty much trying to ride the wave of that documentary like it's fact. You know what I'm saying? Which I ain't even watched that documentary in its entirety. Fuck, man. Somebody turn off that light. Uh, that was no. I would say there is more Caribbean people, Puerto Rican people, etc., that hate Black Americans than vice versa. Cold hard fact. I don't know. That's a point of contention. I mean, like fucking But again, look, I said I'm gonna say this story also too, and this is a personal story. Believe it or not, like unfortunately, even though I'm Brooklyn through and through, like I always say Brooklyn born and raised, but that's actually not true. I was actually born in Jersey City, and then my family moved to Brooklyn when I was 1 month old, when I was still in a blanket, basically. But my pops used to live on Bergen Avenue in Jersey City, and that's a very hood area. Like that's it's all black too, very very black. In fact, before I moved to this spot in Jersey City, when I left my hood in Sunset, I mean when gentrification pretty much pushed me out of Brooklyn, I ended up very close by coincidence to the area that my dad um, was living in when I was a baby. Well, anyways, my dad um, was playing a boombox in the 80s, like playing music in that hood. And, you know, if there's a black hood, my father looks Puerto Rican as fuck with the boombox. Um, they know, like, all right, like this dude's out of place. One, two, we need money and we'd like to utilize that radio for to acquire some quick cash. So they caught him slipping and they juked him. He says that he fought them and like then they took the radio. I doubt that he fought them. He probably ran that shit and that's fine, you know. Like my like that's him, you know, like fucking and RIP to my dad, like, you know, unfortunately he's no longer with us. But my father at times would say spicy things about black people. And you know, my father didn't speak English and whatnot. But on that one experience, the fact that he was juked by these black brothers, who those black brothers didn't hate Puerto Ricans, I'm sure. They just saw an easy lick. I mean, like if you need money, like I mean, like I've had to hit easy licks. I mean, like, you know, I'm not proud to say that, but you get what I mean. You either get a victim or you get recreate somebody you could get your wreck off on. But that's just what happened. I mean, like, you know, that's on him. But he would say things at times that were spicy about black people. But meanwhile, his son, I mean, like my best friend was Marquise Davis, and he's still my man's. You know, like I still chop it over my bro. You know, he was in my house recently, in this house in New Jersey. But and then and eventually my father moved to when we moved to Brooklyn. My father would always blast music, and a lot of these Spanish stations they'd play 3 or 4 records, but Kiss would play hip hop, and my father did not like hip hop. Um, but after a while, my father started like if he was hear a song, he'd always like repeat like the hook, or when he heard beatboxing, like my father's like not like that. He would try to beatbox because my father pretty much seen the art of beatboxing, and he would try like his fake little remixes, like, and he do that shit all day, like you know, beatbox, like the song "Can You Feel It" by the Fat Boys. He loved that song, like, and he ain't know what the fuck these dudes were saying, but he would beatbox that beat from that song a whole weekend sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just what it is. I mean, like, regard and like, you know, if you go to jail and like, you know, you get into beef with Bloods or some shit, or some blood opens your face up by cutting you. I mean, you're gonna have some spicy shit to say, like about Bloods in perpetuity, or you may say spicy shit about Bloods in perpetuity. But I mean, like, does that change the world? No. I mean, like, fucking does that like change the facts? Absolutely not. Did some of the early people that were contributing or participating in hip hop who were Puerto Ricans, did their parents like black people? Maybe not at times, but what the fuck does that matter? You know what I'm saying? Like, did they still enjoy and come to hip hop? Absolutely. Some of these kids probably like loved black people after the fact. I'm not saying that that's why I ended up with a team that at the end of the day, a lot of my bros are black, but because I love hip hop, no, I mean it's just how the cards played out. But there's anomalies in every circumstance. And I grew up in a neighborhood, Sunset Park, Brooklyn, that it's very, very Puerto Rican. In fact, when I grew up in my neighborhood during the mid '90s, my neighborhood was the most Puerto Rican in all New York City, even more so than any part of the Bronx, and more so than Bushwick, Brooklyn. Sunset Park, Brooklyn, percentage wise, had the most Puerto Ricans of any neighborhood in New York City. But there were still black dudes in Sunset Park. You know what I'm saying? Like there was still but and on top of that, I mean, like my crew was pretty much till this day, like mostly black. You know, like fucking and it's not because I'm Mr. fucking like there's a lot of people in my same circumstance. You know what I'm saying? That live in the same dynamic as I do. There's a lot like it's not like when I would go to Beach Street in Fulton Mall, which every rapper went to Beach Street, every producer, every DJ, you know, like fucking there'd be all kinds of people there. I'd run into other Puerto Ricans there. It's not like fucking, all right, sir. Yo, papi, like fucking thank God another one of us that likes hip hop. Like there've been like literal like Puerto Rican rappers like I mentioned Fat Boys. I mean like Prince Marky D is a Puerto Rican dude. I mean Fat Boys became very popular probably 85. Um I didn't know of fucking like in the annals of history where people were saying, "Nah, this Puerto Rican dude can't rock," or like, "Ah, one of these Puerto Ricans biting again." When referring to Prince Marky D, you know what I'm saying, back in the day. But again, you know, you want to leave it to people trying to be the top victim or people that want to paint the black brothers of this country as extremely gullible or constantly falling victim. Like, you know, we got to get out of that conversation. I mean, how are we going to build, or how my bro is going to build in 2025 constantly talking as if they're the weakest shit going? Like everything I know about brothers is extremely hardcore, is extremely fucking thorough. I know like brothers that fucking are taking 10 pieces to the chest, serving 10 years, 15 years on crimes they didn't do because they won't snitch. Meanwhile, the person that did it is out and about walking free, not putting money on their books. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I don't see a lot of like, my like if you if in spite of the fact that the man exists, I mean, we can't be we you have a choice of whether you're a victim or not. You know what I'm saying? Like your life won't get better by shitting on the next man. Trust me, I've done it. Like and listen, as far as living or constantly bitching, like I went back to New York like in the midst of stop and frisk, and I hated the fact that stop and frisk was like a thing that was legalized. In spite of the fact that stop and frisk before it was legalized in New York, every day pretty much cops are running into my pockets. I've had my ass kicked by cops more than once. Not like a lot of these internet dudes fucking never had a really rough interaction with cops. And I never play myself with cops. I never talk like fucking fresh. If a cop fucks with me, I want to be in and out and dip. I don't want to be fucking arguing with dudes or trying to prove shit to dudes or making it seem like I'm a sovereign citizen. Nah. I'd rather take a ticket than fucking get my ass kicked. I'm not gonna win. You know what I'm saying? But the fuck point I was trying to make. But you know, being relishing on the fact that racism is like fucking exist is not gonna make your condition better. And this is like I'll say this to Puerto Rican. I'm not speaking to my FBA brothers. No, I can't speak like I'm not allowed to speak on that. But if it applies to you, fine. But I'll speak to Puerto Ricans. Let's say like Puerto Ricans, you can't like fucking live in this victimhood, like as if you're the like as if we can only be victimized and that's not our that's the only existence that we could live in, because basically Puerto Rican man, you're giving your power to these to the man, to the white people, and making it seem as if he controls your destiny, when in fact you control your destiny. You're the one that wakes up every day. You're the one that's listening to this live stream. You're the one that's liking and subscribing, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially in 2025, don't be on that time, my peoples. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking nothing can keep you down. Not if my black brothers work together, they'd be out of the mess that they're in this country in months, likely than not. You know what I'm saying? But I know how my peoples are. I know a lot of times, like, we're our biggest obstacles. Puerto Ricans, not black people. Black people aren't this way. Or my Moorish brothers don't behave in this fashion. I'm talking about older Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans be getting in each other's way more than anything. Leave us to talk about any subject, and we'll be at each other's throats instantly. That shit could be about a subject about what clothes brand is better, and we'll be fighting in an hour with any debate. And a lot of times we're not like really trying to contend anything. A lot of times we're just trying to prove the person that we're talking to, which a lot of times looks like us. We're just trying to prove them wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, or we're just trying to shit on our own brothers. And that shit gotta that in 2025 is not the time we're on. You know what I'm saying? And the bigger aspect of this is that the time that your boy Behold is on moving forward is not no FBA terminology. We ain't using that. I mean, if you guys want to rock with that, by all means. I mean, because a lot of the dudes that are titling themselves as that same as the FBA title nowadays were calling themselves ADOS during COVID. And now, I mean, like, if you call these dudes ADOS, they'll want to tear your head off, and they'll say, "Oh, well, that's boule shit," or "Oh, that's the dude that started that was a schemer or some shit." Okay, but they were dudes that when ADOS came out, if you called them black, they no, call me ADOS, So I'm not changing my language up for anybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna call a man dressed as a woman under any circumstance. The whole world could tell me, listen, like that's a man wearing like a woman wearing a dress. If he looks like he's a man, I'm not calling that fake woman ma'am. You know what I'm saying? I'm not calling a man dressed as a woman a woman. I don't care if I get fired over it. Like I don't take injections unnecessarily as the man was suggesting to do, you know. But I had a lot of dudes that were, that will riff about the Tuskegee experiment that was done on brothers, but then basically choose to take the jidab during 2021 around that crazy time because all these Trump supporters fucking shit, they don't believe in science. Like, so, like, fucking of course I'm a line up. Like, I mean, or I'm not saying that they framed it in these exact ways, but there's a lot of people. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of people out here that talk a good game, but at the end of the day, they have no standard. You know what I'm saying? Like, to have a standard nowadays is extremely hard. Believe me, you know, to be at a point of, you'll lose your freedom unless you submit. It's a really hard choice to make. And I don't like shit on people that, had that took the vax and what or that took the jab. No, if you had to take it, I mean, I pity for you. I'm just saying, under any circumstance, that shit wasn't gonna go down with me. And I've never taken a COVID test. I've never taken one of this disgusting jabs, and that will never. That's me. I'm not saying that I'm exceptional, but at the end of the day, your life is your life. The way you want to exist. I mean, like, if you want to be a crab, I mean, like, that's your choice. It ain't gonna get you nowhere. You ain't gonna get no points. Like, no matter how much you shit on the next man, your life won't get any better. Personally, like, I mean, and I've been that way. Trust me, I've been a person. In spite of the fact that I got shit, I would look at what other people had and like think like I don't got that though. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking Whereas now, in spite of the fact that I'm wearing polo in this video and whatnot, but I normally dress like an abject bum. When I go shop for clothes, I go to fucking Kohl's or Target. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't hip hop, but you know, uh
I'm an old man now. I am not gonna be the same way forever, and you don't have to be neither. You know what I'm saying? Like, as always a time in which you could evolve, and 2025 seems like the perfect time. You smell me. Much love to you and everybody else listening. If you guys could, YouTube, um, because I have such a nasty disposition when it comes to the jab, is not sending you many things in my direction algorithmically. But if you're watching this now, do please help me by subscribing, sharing this content, and coming back here if I do come back live. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing but love to everybody. Brian Morrison, I hope thank you for coming on. Like, and my brother Jeff 2131 with the ill Malcolm thumbnail. If I see it, if I'm seeing things correctly, thank you for coming on. My brother, Mr. Boxing Talk and More. I mean, that's my brother from my boxing talk days. Um, and he's still my broski. But if you came through and didn't comment, fantastic too. I'll take anything. But with that, I'm gonna attempt to go on to that Crab Mighty Hebrews channel too. I mean, it's scoreboard keepers, and do subscribe to them brothers too. I mean, like, in fact, in spite of the fact that they're talking uh very emotionally and salty in 2025, still they're still my brothers. And like they're, genetically, they're still in the same genetics that I have, except I'm a little bit paler than they are. But I want those brothers to do well, and I hope they could spring off their YouTube career off this FBA shit. If that's what gets them there, fuck it. I'm happy for them. But and I'm gonna try to go onto that channel again on my time though. You know what I'm saying? If they try to out emotion me, I'm out. I don't gotta build with girls. But if they get out of their feelings, I mean, I'd love to chat with them as well. You know what I'm saying? And even in person, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these dudes be talking like they're some street on their street warrior time, like, and you wouldn't say certain things in their face. I say worse things in people's faces. Trust me, people. And that's not because I'm some tough guy, but I don't like. I lose more friends by telling the truth than I gain friends. But you know, I'm too old to bullshit people. I waste time by doing that. But again, I'm glad you guys were here with me this evening. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. With that, I'm out. Thank you for checking me out. Peace.